It takes a lot of energy to write a poem and to write a story because you're concentrating, you're very focused. And then you have to rest when that energy fades. So often, for instance, a story, I'll put it away, I'll come back. Sometimes I have to wait weeks to come back. It's like this live coal, and you can't touch it right away. And then you come back to it, you read it again, and you can see, then you're more detached. And you can see, well, that's boring. Or how come it goes off in different directions? Or sometimes a friend will say, I think really what you're writing about is this. If you want instant gratification, don't be a poet. It takes a long, long time for anything to happen. But eventually things do happen. They get published. They're out in the world. So I'm waiting and working. So I opened the paper and the magazine, and there was a poem by Yehudi Amichai, and all of a sudden his death date, and I didn't realize he had just died. And I burst into tears. The children were quite young then, and Caleb said, why are you crying? And I said, well, the poet Yehudi Amichai died. And he said, well, did you know him? And I said, I feel like I did know him. And, when you love a poet or any writer, that's the sign of what a great writer is. You know them. You know who they are. Their essence comes out in their words. Often when I'm reading Alice Munro, I do think it's very alive because you know the characters, because the characters are multidimensional, because there's never black and white. It's layered as a poem is layered, and there's always an explosive and powerful message. In one story, I think it's called Family Furnishings, and at the end she's sitting and drinking coffee. And then she said, and I realized I was happy. I wanted to take nothing out of the air and make it something. That's what I wanted to do. That would be my life work. And I thought, that's exactly it. That's what every writer wants to do. Take this nothingness and make it something. It seems to me that if you get teachers that love poetry, it's going to be translated. I once worked in a public school through Writers in the Schools, and one of the teachers there said that she gave poetry workshops to the Board of Education and teachers there. And I said, well, do you write poems? And she said, no. And I said, do you like poetry? And she said, no, but you don't necessarily have to like poetry to teach it. But of course you do. I really think that any subject you're teaching, you have to love it. Otherwise, don't bother teaching. You have to love it so much. It has to be the most important thing to you. And there are plenty of people in every single subject who feel that way. The more it's taught by people who love it, the more poets we'll have, I think. People talk about, do they believe in God? Do they not believe in God? To me, it's not a very interesting topic, whether there is or isn't a God. What's more interesting to me is that feeling of great excitement, radiance, exhilaration that everyone feels from time to time, and you want to feel more of it. And it's beyond what you see. It's beyond what you hear. It's a mysterious thing. Everyone feels it, either because of music or painting or poems or just walking in the woods, whatever brings it to you. I don't think there's anyone on the earth that hasn't felt that extreme wonder. So whatever word you want to use for it, it certainly is a mysterious process. And whether there is or isn't a God doesn't even answer that question of where this comes from. And so poetry opens that door for me.